الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك فأولئك هم العادون والذين هم لأماناتهم وعهدهم راعون والذين هم على صلاتهم يحافظون أولئك هم الوارثون الذين يرثون الفردوس هم فيها خالدون ولقد خلقنا الإنسان من سلالة من طين ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين ثم إنكم بعد ذلك لميتون ثم إنكم يوم القيامة تبعثون ولقد خلقنا فوقهم 7 طرائق وما كنا عن الخلق غافلين وأنزلنا من السماء ماء بقدر فأسقناه في الأرض وإن على ذهاب به لقادرون فأنشأنا لكم به جنات من نخيل وأعناب لكم فيها فواكه كثيرة ومنها تأكلون وشجرة تخرج من طور سيناء تنبت بالدهن وزبغ للآكلين صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Jazakallah, brother. Munawwar, thank you so much. Please recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now we will continue with some poetry. So I will request brother Pervez to recite some salam in Urdu.
Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا یہ تازہ ستم اور ہوا چرخے کوہن کا سمجھاؤ تو سجاد ذرا اٹھ کے پھوپھی کو سمجھاؤ تو سجاد ذرا اٹھ کے پھوپھی کو دم ہونٹوں پہ ہے خواہر سلطان زمن کا. ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا. ہے حشر بپا خانہ زندہ میں میرے لال. ہے حشر بپا خانہ زندہ میں میرے لال. ہو سکتا نہیں ضبط یہ غلبہ ہے موہن کا. ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا. افسوس کہ اس عالم غربت میں قضا کی. افسوس کہ اس عالم غربت میں قضا کی. سامان بھی کچھ ہو نہ سکا ہم سے کفن کا. ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا. سغرا سے بچھڑ کر نہ ملے وائے مقدر. سغرا سے بچھڑ کر نہ ملے وائے مقدر. جانے کا رہا بی بی کو ارمان وطن کا. ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا. حیران ہوں کہ موت ایسی تو دیکھی نہ جہاں میں. حیران ہوں کہ موت ایسی تو دیکھی نہ جہاں میں. رکھنا تھا رخ شاہ پہ بس اس کو دہن کا. ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا. ممکن نہ ہوا مجھ سے جدا اس کو جو کرتے. ممکن نہ ہوا مجھ سے جدا اس کو جو کرتے. زخموں کے سبب کرتا ہے پیوست بدن کا. ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا. کہنا یہ زمیں سے کہ نہ ایزا سے دینا. کہنا یہ زمیں سے کہ نہ ایزا سے دینا. تحفہ ہے خدا کو یہ شہ تشنہ دہن کا. ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا. جو بیویوں نے بین کیے لاش کے اوپر. جو بیویوں نے بین کیے لاش کے اوپر. خاموش متی اب نہیں یارا ہے سخن کا. ماں کہتی تھی اٹھواؤ تو تابوت بہن کا. یہ تازہ ستم اور ہوا چرخ کوہن کا.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you, Brother Pervez. Now I would like to invite Brother Ali Ghulam Ali for some poetry.
صلوات.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
برباد الہی کیا آئی تباہی اب اس کو ناباد کبھی پائے گی گھبرائے گی زینب پوچھیں گے جو سب لوگ کے بازو پہ ہوا کیا یہ نیل ہے کیسا کسی کس کو نشانہ کے دکھلائے گی زینب گھبرائے گی زینب ہٹ جائے گا بس دیکھتے ہی گھر کو کلیجہ یاد آگے بھیا دل ڈھونڈے گا تم کو نہ کہیں پائے گی زینب گھبرائے گی زینب صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you, Brother Ali. Inshallah, we'll start with speech by Sheikh Jafar. Sheikh, whenever you're ready. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم به نستعين والحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكري وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أرواحنا له فداء أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبشر الذين آمنوا أن لهم قدم صدق عند ربهم صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mu'minat. First and foremost, I give my condolences to each of you on the occasion that we have come to commemorate, and that is the wafat of Sakina, salamullah alayha, or Sakina, as she's often referred to as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He states in verse 2 of Surah Yunus, that's chapter 10, verse 2, and this is just a part of that surah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells the Prophet, or He mentions that one of the missions of the Prophet, as his title is, that he's Bashir. We know the Prophet is Bashir and Mudhir, that the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one who gives good tidings, and he also warns. Bashirun Nadhir. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the believers are to be given good tidings. So, Bashir al-ladina amanu. And give them good tidings or good news that they have a strong standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قدم الصدق عند الله. So I want to discuss this aspect of قدم الصدق. How do we actually have a strong standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And this is something that if we are attentive to the Ziyaratul Ashira, whenever we recite this, the ziyarah, there's a dua that we recite in the end where we're in prostration and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَثَبِّتْ لِي قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَكَ مَعَ الْحُسَيْنِ وَأَصْحَابِ الْحُسَيْنِ الَّذِينَ بَذَلُوا مُهْجَهُمْ دُونَ الْحُسَيْنِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to plant my feet firm, or give me that strong standing, or make me someone who is in good standing with you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, along with and alongside of Imam Hussein and the companions of Imam Hussein who sacrifice themselves before Imam Hussein, or sacrifice themselves in defense of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. So it's very clear from this dua that not only Imam Hussein, but the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, that they are in good standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what we are requesting is to also be in that good standing alongside of Imam Hussein and his companions. So how do we actually go about achieving this? One of the things that may help us to understand this idea or this concept of what this qadam as-sidqin is, on one hand, many of the traditions, the ahadith, they refer to this qadam as-sidqin as iman. So, which the verse itself, it alludes to that as well. Bashir alladhina amanu. So those individuals who have iman, who have faith, they're able to achieve this this maqam, or this station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whereby they're in good standing, or their feet are planted firm on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we find that in the tradition, which also comes into the commentary as well. Likewise, it refers to actions. Some say it means their a'mal. So make your a'mal good. In other commentaries of the Quran, and also which agrees with the hadith as well, it not only refers to these aspects and state of being of a person, but sometimes it refers to a particular person themselves, or a particular status among individuals. So we'll find in many tafsirs, Shia and Sunni tafsirs alike, they say that this qadam as-sidqin refers to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That the Prophet, he was the one who had qadam as-sidqin. He was the one who was in good standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore he is the role model for anyone who wants to also be in good standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, within our narrations and our traditions, we have narration that says that Imam Ali, that he is the one who is in qadam as-sidqin. There's another tradition that says the walaya in general, the walayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdalus salatu wassalam, that if we follow their path, that we'll be in the qadam as-sidqin. Likewise, some traditions, they refer to this qadam as-sidqin as the station of those individuals who will receive the shafa'ah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that their actions were such that the Prophet of Allah would come on the Day of Judgment and give shafa'ah for them. But there's also a tradition which I want to point out tonight, particularly with this occasion of the Shahadat of Sakina, salamullah alayha, with regards to this aspect of having or being in good standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is one of the beautiful, interesting traditions I came across, where Sakina, and this is while the Ahlul Bayt, while Imam Hussein and his companions and everyone, they were in Karbala before the Shahadat of Imam Hussein and his companions as Ahlul Bayt. Where Sakina, she said that it was on a night, and she describes this night as Laylatul Muqammara, meaning it was a night when the moon was was basically full. And apparently from the description that we have here in this tradition, it was not the night of the 9th, which we know that Imam Hussein was there with his companions and he turned out the lights and said that if anyone wants to leave, they can leave. And no one left. So Sakina, she narrates this tradition. She says that she was in her tent and she heard some crying on the outside of her tent, some things that were going on. And so she kind of went out to see that what was happening. As she saw her father, Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, sitting among his companions and sitting among some other individuals. And this is between the tents. So on the night of the 9th, meaning the eve of Ashura, meaning Tasu'ah, the event apparently from the description took place inside the tents where Imam Hussein, he turned out the light that was going on and he made that statement to his companions. But this was happening in between the tents. So perhaps before the 9th, and perhaps with some individuals who may have been in the surrounding area, that they came forth and they were sitting with Imam Hussein. They were trying to figure out that what is happening. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam, according to this account that Sakina salamullah alayha, that she narrates, that her father was sitting there and he was talking with the individuals. And he said that he has come to this place because of individuals who had called Imam Hussein. أقدم على قوم بايعوني بألسنتهم وقلوبهم, that these individuals who've given their loyalty to me simply by their tongues and also with their hearts. And this goes back to one of the famous traditions as well, where Imam Hussein, he asked about the people of Kufa, that after they turned, I believe one of the individuals he had asked about was Hur. He says, well, their hearts are with you, but their swords are against you. So Imam Hussein, he states this, that they gave them their bay'ah, their loyalty, but with their tongues and with their heart. But what has happened, that they have changed, because Shaitan has now overtaken them and they have forgotten, فَأَنْسَاهُمْ ذِكْرَ اللَّهِ, they have forgotten Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is speaking about the state of being of some individuals that Imam Hussein is telling these people who are with him about. So he tells them, he says that, listen, that the night is dark, the path is open, and if you want to leave, you can leave, because tomorrow what will happen is that surely anyone who stays with me, they will be martyred. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his famous saying, he says, قَدْ أَذِنَ اللَّهُ قَتْلَكُمْ وَقَتْلِي. Says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has permitted this event, that this will happen. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. So he said that anyone who wants to leave, they can leave. And then the Prophet, then Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he narrates a prophet, a hadith or tradition from Rasulullah, where he says that قال جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ولدي الحسين عليه السلام يقتل بأرض كربلاء غريبا وحيدا عطشانا فريدا. He says that my son Hussein will be martyred in Karbala, alone in a strange place, or estranged, by himself, thirsty, and without any helper. Then he says that the Prophet of Allah said, فَمَنْ نَصَرَهُ فَقَدْ نَصَرَنِي. And so whoever helps him, whoever helps Imam Hussein alayhi salam, will be helping Rasulullah. وَمَنْ نَصَرَهُ, again, the Prophet is saying that whoever helps Imam Hussein helps me. وَنَصَرَ وَالِدَهُ الْقَائِمَ عَجَّلَ اللَّهُ فَرَجُ الشَّرِيفِ. So, and whoever helps Imam Hussein alayhi salam will be helping Imam al-Mahdi, Imam who will come and who will establish justice in this earth. وَلَوْ, and continue that hadith, وَلَوْ نَصَرَنَا, Imam Hussein is stating, وَلَوْ نَصَرَنَا بِلِسَانِهِ فَهُوَ فِي حِزْبِنَا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. And Imam Hussein, he says that even if that person helps us by his tongue, that if that individual did not draw a sword, of course, definitely not draw a sword against the Ahlul Bayt or against the Imam Hussein in this particular event, then they will be those who help Imam Hussein. So even in this instance where Imam Hussein is telling some individuals to go, and according to this tradition, Sakina, she says, yeah, some of those individuals, they got up and they left. Again, these were not the close companions of Imam Hussein who, again, he entered into Karbala with. Perhaps those individuals who began to come from the surrounding area to look at what is going on, and they decided that, oh, well, we're going to not stay. And this is where Imam Hussein was left with the 72 companions that we know of who were martyred in Karbala. So Sakina, she mentions this. And what is interesting is that we find that Imam Hussein, alayhi wasalam, he is pointing out this aspect of being close with the Imam. So if we help Imam Hussein, then we are helping Rasulullah. And of course, if we're helping Rasulullah, who is this example of qadam as-sidqin and Allah or inda rabbihim, then we're following in that tradition, or we are on that path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will be well pleased with us. He will be the one who, that we're getting this good news, that we are in a good state of being. But Imam Hussein, he points out several things, some things indirectly in this hadith, some things very directly. One of those things is about, again, how we support the Ahlul Bayt. That what is our position and what is our standing actually with the Ahlul Bayt, alayhim salatu wasalam. That if we're in good standing with the Ahlul Bayt, we will be in good standing with Rasulullah. If we're in good standing with Rasulullah, we will be in good standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that is reiterated in several places within our traditions and within our rites or a'mal that we do. One of those is in the dua that we recite before the ziyarat of Imam Ali, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali bin Abi Talib, alayhi wasalam. That in that dua, there's a number of things that we say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We bear witness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we, to his oneness. We bear witness that we accept Rasulullah and we follow Rasulullah. We bear witness that we are, we have accepted the walayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali bin Abi Talib. Then there's a part in that dua where we say, وَقُلْتَ, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you stated in your book, in the Quran, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَنَّ لَهُمْ قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. That, oh Allah, you have said that those believers, that they are in good standing with their Lord, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thereafter, Allahumma wa inni bika mu'minun. And then after that, in that dua, we are affirming that, oh Allah, we have iman in you. We believe in you. So in order to be in good standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the things that we have to make sure is, again, our faith, our iman, our beliefs, that they are correct beliefs. That our iman, that we understand our deen, that it should be intact. So, Allahumma inni wa inni bika mu'minun wa bi jami'i anbiya'ika. And we also believe in your prophets, all of your prophets. فَلَا تَقِفْنِي بَعْدَ مَعْرِفَتِهِمْ مَوْقِفًا تَفْضَحُنِي بِهِ عَلَى رُؤُوسِ الْخَلَائِقِ. And then we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that dua that, oh Allah, do not, like after I have this ma'rifah, this understanding of tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this understanding of nabuwa, then, oh Allah, do not allow me to be in a station or in a place whereby you expose my actions before the creation, before your creation. And that would be either on Yawm al-Qiyamah or in a situation like we saw in Karbala, that certain individuals, they wrote letters to Imam Hussein professing that they are loyal to Imam Hussein, but then before everyone, before even the writers of history, we knew that these individuals, that they had no loyalty or commitment to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam. Even individuals who had previously stood with Imam Hussein, stood with the Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam in the Battle of Siffin, that in this battle they had turned against the Ahlul Bayt. So Allah, do not put me in a position where I'm exposed, that my actions are exposed, or that which is in my heart, or that which is deep down in my heart, that is exposed and it's not truthful, that my profession of faith, my claim of Iman and following the path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad is not true. So don't expose me in that way, but rather keep me firm upon that path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. بل قفني معهم وتوفني على تصديقي بهم, as the remainder of that dua says. So rather keep me upon that path and allow me to pass away from this world being truthful to that which I believe. And that truthfulness is also some of the Mufassirin, they state that قدم الصدق is قولا وعملا. It's not simply by statement, but also in one's action. This is how we prove that we are in good standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise in the dua, and this is one of the duas that we should recite on the day of Ghadir, the Eid of Wilaya. And even on that day, in the Eid of Wilaya, we are also asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the same thing. وَجَعَلْ لَنَا قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ وَتَجْعَلْ لَنَا مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا إِلَى يَوْمِ الدِّينِ. That, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make my feet be planted firmly on this path with those who are muttaqeen, those who have taqwa. And when we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, again, for this qadam sidqin ma'al muttaqeen, or as we recite in the Ziyarat al-Ashra, Allahumma thabbit, or thabbit li qadam sidqin indaka ma'al Hussein wa ashab al-Hussein. Here we're in the dua for Eid al-Ghadir, وَجَعَلْ لَنَا قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Doesn't simply mean that, oh, well, count me among the muttaqeen, or make me be with them, or allow me to be with Imam Hussein and the ashab of Imam Hussein on the Day of Judgment. But we don't embody their traits and their characteristics. So that means that if we want that قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ, as it says in the dua of Eid al-Ghadir, then that means that we must strive to be those individuals, those folks who are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are muttaqi. And if we are muttaqi, وَتَجْعَلْ لَنَا مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا إِلَى يَوْمِ الدِّينِ. And so if we are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then those folks that we are in company with, those leaders that we follow, then they will be also among the muttaqeen, because we are looking for that quality in the people that we follow. In this example, in the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam. Likewise, in that dua of Eid al-Ghadir, and this is also a very beautiful part of this dua, where it says, وَثَبِّتْ لَنَا قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْهِجْرَةِ اللهم اجعل محيانا خير المحيا ومماتنا خير الممات. So, oh Allah, plant our feet firmly with regards to the hijrah. And this hijrah that is spoken about here, this migration or this pilgrimage, it's not a physical pilgrimage. We're walking from one place to the next, or we're migrating from one country to the next, or one city to the next. This hijrah is the hijrah of a lifestyle change. وَثَبِّتْ لَنَا قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْهِجْرَةِ. That Allah make us or give us a good standing in this hijrah, in this transformation, whereby, again, right after that, immediately, we're asking, Allahumma ja'al waj'al mahyana khayr al-mahya. That Allah make our life the best of life. Wa mamatina khayr al-mamat. And our death the best of death. And of course, when we look for the best life and the best lifestyle, the best transition from life in this world to the life of the hereafter, there's no better example than that of Rasulullah and his Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam. So, and of course, this is something that we have to work on, that we have to constantly work on. And this is one of the reasons why, alhamdulillah, we have the example of the Ahlul Bayt, we have the example of Imam Hussein and his companions. And I want to give a few examples of those companions of Imam Hussein. Since we asked Allah, وَثَبِّتْ لِي قَدْمَ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَكَ مَعَ الْحُسَيْنِ وَأَصْحَابِ الْحُسَيْنِ. So that means we need to understand and know the companions of Imam Hussein. That who were these individuals? That what was their characteristics? What were their traits? Whereby they were blessed to be selected to be among those companions of Imam Hussein, to be those individuals who were sacrificed on the plains of Karbala, that from that time until the end of time that they will be remembered. In order to, again, bring this into scope and to, again, on one hand, assess our own selves and our own standing with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, and particularly as we see, as we mentioned from the very beginning, that the folks who were in Karbala were of different traits, different characteristics. Some who claimed that they were loyal to Imam Hussein, they turned against him. There were individuals there who, from the very beginning, they did not have any loyalty with the Ahlul Bayt. Then there were folks who had that love for Ahlul Bayt, or they had concern for the Ahlul Bayt, but yet they did not stay to fight with the Ahlul Bayt, fight on the side of Imam Hussein. As the narration of Sakina points out, that there were a group that they actually left after Imam Hussein. He mentioned that what will happen, and then he told them, he says that, well, if you help us, walau nasrana bilisani. So even if that person helps us with their tongue, then yes, they will have a station with us. But is that equal to the folks who remained, to the Shahadat who remained in Karbala? Absolutely not. One of the traditions which again help us to assess ourselves, but also it's an eye-opener to even those folks who were in Karbala, the people who were in Karbala, the different levels, I guess you would say, of Iman or faith, or different folks of understanding of the status of Ahlul Bayt. That what was their understanding of Ahlul Bayt? Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam is reported to have stated this a statement. Actually, it was narrated by Abu Hamza Thumali. And Abu Hamza Thumali, one of the very close companions of Imam Zayn al-Abidin. Abu Hamza Thumali is someone who Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam stated that his status with the Ahlul Bayt is the same as the status of Salman Farsi with the Ahlul Bayt, meaning that we know the famous hadith that Salman minna Ahlul Bayt. Salman is from among the Ahlul Bayt, or Salman Farsi, that his Iman was on the 10th level of Iman. So Abu Hamza Thumali was a person who had the same caliber and status with the Ahlul Bayt. So Abu Hamza Thamali, he states that he was with Imam Zain al-Abidin, alayhi salatu wasalam. Imam Zain al-Abidin narrated for him a tradition from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, wherein the Prophet, he stated that fil jannati thalathu darajatin wa fil nari thalathu darakat. He says, in paradise, you'll find that there will be 3 levels of individuals. And in hell, you will also find 3 stations of people, that people will be in 3 stations of hell. He says, وَأَعْلَى دَرَجَاتِ الْجَنَّةِ, and the highest station in paradise that people will achieve and acquire is for those people, those folks, لِمَنْ أَحَبَّنَا بِقَلْبِهِ وَنَصَرَنَا بِلِسَانِهِ وَيَدِهِ. He says, those folks, those people, or whosoever has love for us, meaning have love for the Ahlul Bayt, they have love for Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. They follow that verse wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he states in the Quran that there's no compensation for this final revelation, this final guidance to humanity, إِلَّا مَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. So they have love for Ahlul Bayt. And that love is not simply kept in their heart, but they move forward and they assist, they help the Ahlul Bayt bilisanihi wa yadi, that through their speech, through their talking with other individuals, through expressing their love for Ahlul Bayt, and then also with their hands, meaning that they physically help the Ahlul Bayt. If there's something that they can do, then they do it. They do not just simply sit around. The best example of this is those 72 martyrs of Karbala, along with Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. The second level, وَفِي الدَّرَجَةِ الثَّانِيَةِ, as the Prophet of Allah, he states, مَنْ أَحَبَّنَا بِقَلْبِهِ وَنَصَرَنَا بِلِسَانِهِ. He says, that person who has love for us, has love for the Ahlul Bayt, has love in his heart, and he assists us and aids us with his speech or with his tongue. And this is what Imam Hussein alayhi wasallam told those individuals, as Sakina, she narrated, that there was a group of people, they got up and they left. They said, well, tomorrow, or whenever that comes, whenever the battle starts, Imam Hussein and whoever stays with him will be martyred. So those folks who left, perhaps they left to be the helpers of Imam Hussein by their tongue, to spread the message, to spread the news of what happened. But those folks who just have that love in their hearts and on their tongues, then they are in the second level of paradise. وَفِي الدَّرْجَةِ الثَّالِثَةِ, according to the Prophet, and on the third level, a station of paradise, مَنْ أَحَبَّنَا بِقَلْبِهِ, is that person who loves the Ahlul Bayt with his heart. But whether that person expresses it with his tongue? No. Or does that person, show actions that they have love for Ahlul Bayt? No. But that love is simply in their hearts of Ahlul Bayt. And so that person will enter into paradise, but on the third level or station. Then the Prophet, he continues, he says, وَفِي أَسْفَلِ دَرْكٍ مِنَ النَّارِ, and the one who is in the lowest level of hell, meaning that he will be the one who is most condemned. مَنْ أَبَغَضَنَا بِقَلْبِهِ وَأَعَانَ عَلَيْنَا بِلِسَانِهِ وَيَدِهِ. So that person who has hatred in his heart for us, for Ahlul Bayt, and that person who is paying no attention to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in the Quran, إِلَّا مَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. So they have hatred and animosity against the Ahlul Bayt. And not only that, they, with their tongues, with their expression, they work against the Ahlul Bayt. They speak foul or against the Ahlul Bayt. And then in their actions as well, that the things that they do, again, is against Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. and they're in the worst or the lowest level of hell. وَفِي الدَّرْكِ الثَّانِيَةِ, and those who are in the, you say, the second level up, or that middle level, مَنْ أَبْغَضَنَا بِقَلْبِهِ وَأَعَانَ عَلَيْنَا بِلِسَانِهِ. That individual who, again, has that animosity in his heart for us and has assisted with that animosity against us through their advertisement, through their expressions, through their saying. And this is something that we see that happened in this whole event of Karbala. One with Ibn Ziyad coming in to Kufa and talking against the Ahlul Bayt, talking against Imam Hussein, alayhi salatu wasalam, encouraging the people to back away from their loyalty with Imam Hussein. Also within the event when the Ahlul Bayt were taken into Sham and to Damascus, that they were being spoken against. And then you could say the upper level of hell is man abghadana biqalbi, that individual who, again, they have animosity against us in their heart. And this is something that we see, again, the prime example, at least of that first group who's in the asfal al-darki min an-nar, the lowest level of hell. Again, one of the poetries and poems that is still remains to today by Yazid ibn Muawiyah, where he says that when the Ahlul Bayt were ushered into Damascus, and when they were first coming to the court, he said, "Isqini shurbata turawi mushashi, or turawi fuadi, thumma mil فَإِسْقِي مِثْلَهَا ibn Ziyad." So again, making kind of mockery of what happened in Karbala, stating that, well, when they're ushered in, then I will call for water. He calls for water, that give me a drink where it will quench my thirst, it will please my heart, and do the same for Ibn Ziyad. And he said, and he calls Ibn Ziyad Sahib al-Sirri wal-Amanati indi, the one who holds my secrets, the one who is, again, trustworthy with me. وَلِتَسْدِيدِ مَغْنَمِي وَجِهَادِ, the one who has secured my spoils of war, the one who has, again, led my jihad, my war. قَاتِلَ الْخَارِجِيِّ أَعْنِي حُسَيْنَ, meaning that he killed those who are foreign, those who are outside my foes, meaning he murdered Imam Hussein. وَمُبِيدَ الْأَعْدَاءِ وَالْحُسَّادِ, meaning that he is, that anyone who is his enemy, anyone who is, again, envious of him, then he will destroy them. So this is poetry from Yazid, showing that from his tongue and also from his actions to murder Imam Hussein, to murder the Ahlul Bayt, to murder the companions of Imam Hussein, that this is the state of Yazid. And before we speak about Sakina, that this is tonight that we are mourning her wafat in Damascus, I want to give just two examples of the companions of Imam Hussein. So when we ask that we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَثَبِّتْ لِي قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَكَ مَعَ الْحُسَيْنِ وَأَصْحَابِ الْحُسَيْنِ الَّذِينَ بَذَلُوا مُهَجَّهُمْ دُونَ الْحُسَيْنِ. That, again, the example that we get from the companions of Imam Hussein, alayhi salatu. One of them is Burayr, and someone we sometimes do not speak about in the 10 days. Of course, there's only a short amount of time that we can speak about each of the companions of Imam Hussein. But Burayr ibn Khadayr, this is one of the companions of Imam Hussein, that he was known in Kufa as a reciter of the Quran. He was a Quran teacher. He was someone who would sit in the masjid of Kufa and teach other people how to recite the Quran. Someone who was, again, was known as a zahid, someone who was connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he was often seen fasting, making his prayers, making salatul layl. This was Burayr. And so that we understand his status, because it's very interesting characteristic that we find about Burayr in Karbala, that when he comes forth on the battlefield, one of the men from the side of the army of Yazid, it comes out by the name of Yazid ibn Ma'aqil, comes to fight Burayr. And so he challenges Burayr. He says, look, you're following, Hussein ibn Ali, and you're not following, Yazid ibn Muawiyah. And Burayr, he says, yes, this is the right path. I am on the truth. So Yazid ibn Ma'aqil, he tells Burayr, he says, no, you're lying. Anta kadhab. So on the battlefield of Karbala, Burayr, he says, well, if you feel this, he says, my iman is this. Again, and Burayr is someone who is firm in his iman and his faith. So he says that if you think that I'm mistaken in my faith, in my direction, and on the path I stand, he says, فَنُبَاهِلْ. So he challenged Yazid ibn Ma'qal to a mubahila in Karbala, on the battle place. And according to the accounts of Karbala, that Yazid ibn Ma'qal, when he came out, and this was the kind of norm of battle, that if someone came forth, then their equal will come forth, someone who's equally as good in fighting. So that, and that was initially what went on until, again, the companions of Imam Hussein were being surrounded by all sides and attacked from all sides. So Yazid ibn Ma'qal came forth as if he was the equal to Burayr. Burayr challenged him to this mubahila, and when they raise their hand to make dua, they made the mubahila, and part of that mubahila is that whoever is on the right path, then that individual will be victorious in this battle. So as soon as they started battling, the battle didn't take long. That where Burayr, he eliminated Yazid ibn Ma'qal. And at that point, other individuals began to come forth to fight with Burayr, and each person he would defeat them. And one person by the name of Ka'b ibn Jabir, again, seeing this, understanding the iman of Burayr, that on the battlefield of Karbala, that he is challenging the one who is supposed to be his equal to Mubahila, and he is victorious. And thereafter, every person who faces Burayr is victorious. So Ka'b ibn Jabir, he throws a spear and he stabs Burayr in the back. Again, being cowardly, not wanting to face Burayr from the front. So he, again, kills him by ramming him in the back with a spear. And then the repercussions of that is that Ka'b ibn Jabir, when his wife finds out that oh, you went and you fought the grandson of Rasulullah, and not only that, you killed the Qari of the Quran, the teacher of the Quran, the person who was teaching folks in Kufa the Quran. So she said from that day forward, she never spoke to Ka'b again. Another individual is Hanzala, and this very interesting character, Hanzala. He comes out and he also recites this statement to the people of Kufa who are fighting against Imam Hussein. He says, Ya qawm inni akhafu alaykum mithla yawm al-ahzab. He says, I fear for you just like the day of Ahzab. When the Ahzab came to fight the Rasulullah and the Mu'mineen, though the Ahzab were many, but the Prophet was victorious. He says, I fear for you this day. I fear for you the punishment of the people of Nuh, of Ad and Thamud, or what happened to them afterwards. They said that Hanzala also on the battlefield fought very bravely. Again, and every person that he challenged, then they could not fight against Hanzala. And at one point, Hanzala, he looks towards Imam Hussein, alayhi salatu salam, and he asks Imam Hussein, he says, or he comes back close to Imam Hussein, and he says, Imam Hussein, he says, أَفَلَا أَرُوحُ إِلَىٰ رَبِّنَا وَنَلْحَقُ بِأَصْحَابِنَا. He asked Imam Hussein that, should I go and join my companions? Should I go and return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Again, this is part of the wilayat of takwini of Imam Hussein alayhi wasallam. So the Imam, he responded, he says, روح إلى ما هو خير لك من الدنيا وما فيها وإلى ملك لا يبلى. He says that go to that which is better than this dunya, and that which is more everlasting. And so they said that not long after that, you heard the salam, the final salam of Hanzala on the battlefields of Karbala. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, sallallahu alayka wa ala ahli baytik. So this is the characteristics of the companions of Imam Hussein that we should take as our example as well. Be those folks who are the Qurra of the Quran, that not simply hold fast to the Quran, teach the Quran, but act by the Quran. That our iman should be that strong that, yes, if we challenge anyone in mubahala, that we will be victorious in that. And this is the state of Imam Hussein, his companions, even the family of Imam Hussein, to endure the tragedy, not only in Karbala, but even the aftermath of Karbala, to enter into Sham in that way in which the Ahlul Bayt were ushered in. As Imam Zain al-Abidin, he said that one of the most difficult moments was Asham. Having the sacrifice of the Shahadat, this is what we did for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that definitely Jannah, paradise, is at the end of that. But to enter into Damascus where the people, they did not love the Ahlul Bayt in their hearts. Many of them, perhaps one or two here we can find that had that love for Ahlul Bayt, but they did not express it, perhaps did not help. Again, one, we know that the wife of Yazid, she expressed it. But most of the people were not like that. Most of them, they had that ghadab, animosity against the Ahlul Bayt. And their tongues were against the Ahlul Bayt. Even their actions were against the Ahlul Bayt. So in that situation, as we know that in the dungeon of Yazid, as the family was being held captive, there was one moment that there was crying in the cells. In that prison, crying that awoke Yazid in the middle of the night, and he asked, what is going on? What is happening? And he said that there's crying coming from the cells. And he asked, who is crying? He said, this is the daughter, Binti Hussein ibn Ali. So the daughter of Imam Hussein. So what does she want? That she wants her father. She had had a dream, a disturbing dream, and she woke up out of that crying for her father. So Yazid said, well, send her the head of Hussein. So as the guards, they came with the head of Imam Hussein on a platter, it was covered with a cloth. And as they came forth, they placed the platter with the severed head of Imam Hussein before her. And she was wondering that, what is this? She says, you wanted your father? This is your father. That when she lifted the covering off of the head of Imam Hussein, and she began to cry more profusely. She began to cry, Ya abata, ya, من ذا الذي خضبك بدمائك. Oh, my father, who has dyed your hair and your beard with your blood. يا أبتاي من ذا الذي قطع رويديك. Oh, my father, who has severed your head. يا أبتاي من ذا الذي أيتمني على صغر سني. Oh, my father, who has made me a yatim at this young age. يا أبتاي من بقي بعدك نرجو. Oh, my father, who is there that we should have hope in after you. يا أبتاي من لليتيمة حتى تكبر. Oh, my father, who will be there for the yatim, who will help the yatim, this yatim girl, who will help her to grow up into a young woman. This was the statement of Sakina. She was crying. They said Sakina that as she was crying, at one point there was silence that fell over her. She had fainted right beside the head of Imam Hussein. And as she was silent for some time, that at one point they thought that maybe she was sleeping, maybe she is sleeping. But then Imam Zain al-Abidin, he went to wake her at one point, and Sakina, she would not wake up. They realized that at this point, faraqat ruhuha, that her soul had left her body, that she passed away in the cells of Yazid in Sham. ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم بحق هذا المجلس الحسيني اغفر ذنوبنا واستر عيوبنا وقضي حوائجنا واشف مرضانا وارحم أمواتنا وعجل فرج مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه وتحت لوائه بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين. ماتم حسين.